Warning.
You are now tuned in to 7 Mile Radio. 7 Mile Radio.
Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. Thank you guys for tuning in and welcome back to the Making 'em Think podcast. I want to again thank all my followers for tuning in and everyone who will tune in coming as we are having our discussion of our current financial situation in America. Going to discuss some of the political aspects of where we are, finances, where we're headed, how to acquire what we need in reference to where we're headed, and how to utilize. My guest host today to break down, really dissect this topic of discussion. Of course, we have my guest host coming back again for a second time. You guys might as well get ready to get used to this face. He's just going to be here all the time. I please welcome Mr. Emmett, the founder and CEO of Revolutionary Wealth Builders.
Peace.
You can find Emmett on YouTube at Revolutionary Wealth Builders. And of course, I have my baby in the building. I have Miss Queen D of this New Era Detroit, and also President and CEO of Royalty Tax and Business Solutions. Again, we will be discussing some financial situations, if you will, for the lack of a better word, and the current situations for our people and in general, basically, and where we are headed and how to acquire what we need to be able to deal with where we're headed and how to utilize. I am sure that everyone has, as of recently, seen the gas prices. Oh wow. And I do think that this is something that we're probably going to have to, rather than wait until the prices go back down, I think this is something that we're probably going to have to get used to, the fact that this is our form of lifestyle, especially with a World War III, if you will, right at the heels of our feet. And basically that I can see that, whether it's actually going to be legit, it's going to be a lie, but I can see that being the reason that our country might use as a excuse, if you will, for a lot of the rate increases on the things we're going to see. As you guys can see, some of the grocery stores, the prices are absolutely and positively ridiculous. We need to get into a structure up to where we're learning to buy, grow our own foods. I am in the process of that now. Went and bought me some organic soil, trying to be on my grown up. My organic soil, buying my organic fruits and vegetables and using those seeds to reproduce. Right now I'm in the practicing phase. Hopefully I can perfect this, because I do want to pass this down to my children, my grandchildren, because I want them prepared as far as how they survive nutritionally, in reference to something that they are doing on their own.
Turn it down. Hey.
Y'all see me doing a shoulder roll? That's because it was Emmett this time. It was not me this time. It was Emmett this time. It was not me this time. Guys, we're going to get the topic of discussion rolling. We'll start off with Emmett. Emmett, if you will, can you share some of your insights, if you will, on the geopolitical situation and where you think it's going to affect us directly?
Absolutely. First, I want to apologize. I like to be behind the scenes. So I'm more of a behind the scenes type of guy. So, however, so the geopolitical tensions, and just so people understand what we're talking about when we say geopolitical, geo meaning earth and political meaning politics, of course, the geopolitical tensions that we're experiencing have more to do with our monetary system, our world monetary system, and the power that everyone is seeking to obtain in order to maintain their dominance in their own in their areas of expertise economically. Mm-hmm. Anytime we go to war, it is always about money, and it is always about power. Mm-hmm. It is never about anything else. Mm-hmm. And so if we must understand that. How it will impact us is that things will rise in price. We will have to prepare in other areas, and we're going to talk a little bit about that as we get deeper and deeper into the show. Mm-hmm. But we will need to prepare in areas where we can sustain ourselves. for food. We need to protect against things like radiation. There are a couple of products on the market that we need to have access to that will protect us from radiation. We need seeds. Seeds are going to be like money. Very, very important. Of course, make certain that we are making sure we're creating good investments for ourselves to keep cash flow, to keep income coming in and things like that. But we must prepare for the future. What we don't want to do is find ourselves in a situation where the dollar will not buy us the things that we need because it has lost so much of its purchasing power that the things that we need, we would have to barter something else for them. So we want to buy these things before the dollar loses all of its purchasing power. That might be the most important discussion that we have today.
Okay.
That's going to be the best way to prepare. Spending dollars today for things that are going to be much more valuable in the future.
Tomorrow, okay. And Queen D, I wanted to ask you, you actually being the founder of a consulting tax firm and business consulting and things like that, I'm sure you get a lot of us who reach out to you for maybe the filing of our taxes, you enlightening us on some situations that we ourselves might not be aware of. Because like I told you, for me to file my tax situation on behalf of the org, I was completely oblivious. Well, I ain't even make that. Do I do that? You know what I'm saying? And again, me in that area operating out of an area of ignorance, not really completely understanding how taxes work, what needs to be filed, which is the reason I pretty much have a team and need people like you on my team. So where I fall short, I can refer to you to that, for that information. What do you feel like us as a people, when it does come to financial literacy and things like that, a lot of areas that we can improve on, or we need more under our belt to be able to function as we should better as a society, and I mean a society of Black people. What are some of the areas you think that we can improve on and that we need to look into more to get a better understanding of how to financially aggress,
Yeah, absolutely. So I think some of the, two of the important things of having some type of financial stability, and the keys to that is being organized and also having knowledge of certain things. We come up, we go through high school. They don't teach us about taxes. They don't teach us about credit. They don't teach us about, how to purchase a home. They don't teach us about those things. Those things are self-taught. We have to, educate ourselves. Or we may learn them later on in life, if you take a college course or, something to that nature. Or, unfortunately, people just stumble upon that, just through life situations and things that happen. I think the most important thing is being organized. That's very important. That's one thing, us as a people, as a culture, we have an issue with, and that is organization.
It is.
Whether it be in your personal life, your work life, your financial goals and aspirations, all of those things need to be organized in order for you to be successful.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the times, when I speak to my clients and they come to me and, they got a folder, but with receipts, they're like, help me, I don't know what to do. Like, I'm trying to organize everything. And I'm like, okay, well, that's the thing. You have to be proactive in that, so if you run a business, and you have all these receipts at the end of the week, if you're not going to hire an accountant or someone professional to keep up with that stuff, then you need to sit down and maybe organize yourself, add up all those receipts and stuff, so that way we procrastinate a lot too. In our community, everybody knows that we procrastinate. We wait till the last minute,
That's true.
To get things done. And that kind of sets us back, and I tell everyone, being proactive in your situation is always, that it's a good thing, that's a plus for you because you don't have the anxiety, and that anxiety comes from not being prepared, so if you're organized and you have everything together, you don't have anything to worry about, so to speak. And in our communities, just as families and things of that sort, we want to make sure that we are financially independent and financially free. Now, those are two different things. Those are two separate different things. Being financially free is being able to pretty much make money in your sleep. You're
Okay.
making money in your sleep. You're not, you're setting forth some type of, you're putting the wheels in action, so that way you are not doing all the work, to make that money.
I got you.
And then being financially independent is being where you are able to sustain on your own. That's one thing is, as a community that we need to, really understand.
Focuses on. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. And then, because for me, then I'm just, well, I don't even know financially independent. We just gonna leave that situation alone. Currently, right now, as we speak as of today, we're gonna leave that situation alone. But I do agree wholeheartedly, especially when you said organization. And I'm gonna stray a little bit, but to make it make sense, how being organized can really, really enlighten and open doors for so many other things. And what I mean by that is, I had realized, like, as of lately, going home, and once I got into my house, I'm pretty much like, oh, I feel dampered in here. I done made sure I done burned my sage, I done opened my windows, got all my energy. And for me, if you've ever been to my home, like, you probably would feel like, I sometimes don't, but everyone who visits, you probably could feel like you could eat off my floor, but as of lately, I had gotten to the point where I take my shower, leave the towel on the floor. Or I'm in my office, and when the day's over and I've done everything, I didn't stack the papers back and put so the next day I come into my office, it's all disarray. And I have this theater room.
Okay.
And then in the theater room, I might decide that's where I'm going to end my night. So I've gotten out the shower and threw my pajamas and stuff on. Wake up the next morning, I threw the pajamas off in that room. Now I'm in here and my house is a clutter. When it's disorganized, I'm at my worst. I am. I just can't.
You know how they say that?
I can't.
Proper preparation prevents poor performance.
How about I love that
Absolutely.
PPP loan. You hear me?
That's a whole nother conversation.
Well, I love that. I love that. But
Yes.
yeah, and I can notice that when the house is clean and it's free, and I can just I caught Emmett. Let's kick it. I mean, I need these questions answered, Queen. But when it's cluttered and it is disorganized, and I just don't feel like myself. I feel dragged. I don't want to do anything. I really feel slothful. It has to be clean, or I can't function.
Absolutely.
And so that being organized, it's almost a mental thing,
It is.
almost,
It
if you
is.
will,
It is.
like
It is.
to receive clarity.
Yeah.
Cleanliness is next to godliness. You know what I'm saying? And I do, honestly, even in spiritual energy, I feel freer when I'm better organized.
Right.
And bringing that into the relevance of what we're talking about today, being able to feel free, being organized as a people, as we're flowing financially, as we are all coming together and building in that aspect. You know what I'm saying? So just to be organized is really a major key as to how we flow
Absolutely.
directly and how we flow in one accord. You know what I'm saying? Because you have a freeing of the mind, if you will, to think clearly almost. And I promise you, I notice the difference. Now I have committed to myself that I don't even want it to get a bit cluttered anymore, because I'm talking about really fell in a slump. I fell so much in a slump from being disorganized at the house that to where I didn't even want to clean up.
Yeah.
That's how bad it had gotten. I didn't even
Right.
want to pick the stuff up.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm in such a slump. Well, I don't feel like this, and I do agree with that. So that being a step, not only if you want to be proactive outside, partnering with organizations, reaching out to people like Emma, saying, this is the game plan that I wanted to follow. And I saw one of your programs or one of your shows, and you had a lot of information that I was seeking, and this is where I want to go with it. And versus just always sitting up in clutter and, not really having a clear mind, and you just sitting and you watching him. Like, I can receive better from your show if my office is clean, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? I can, like, if I turn around and I want to run in the kitchen right quick and grab a water bottle and stepped over a tile that's on it, I
Right.
just feel so slumped, and so I'm not receiving the information that I'm getting as the same.
Exactly.
If that was a
Oh,
small
yeah.
sidebar, but I really wanted to be able to relate to what you were saying
Right.
and give a better breakdown to the people who are watching of
Right.
exactly what that means. You know what I'm saying? To be organized really leaves
I mean,
an
you
open
apply that
mind
to
for
everything
clarity.
Think about traffic jams. When it's colored, you can't move, you can't flow right. You know, you
Right.
can't get to where you need to go
That's true.
efficiently.
Exactly.
That's
Yep.
true.
So
That's
yeah,
true.
I mean, anything when it's colored like that, your mind, your house, your life, even when you dress a certain way, right? It gives you a certain energy, gives you a certain
How about that?
confidence,
Yeah, it
you know?
does.
Right.
It does.
So,
yeah, it does.
Being
It does.
organized matters in everything.
Yeah, it does, and it's all the part of planning. You know, that clutter, that mess. All it is a distraction. It's a distraction, and it causes you to be anxious because you're not focusing on what you need to be focused on because you're looking at things that are not right around you.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
so if you are able to, organize yourself, that towel that you threw on the floor earlier, now you're in the laundry room and you're like, where are all my towels? Oh, dang, I left that towel upstairs. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I left a couple in the other room, so it's like, if we can get to that point where we organize and, and our thought process is we have to do one thing at a time when we're thinking and, completely finish that thought. If you're working on something, complete that. A lot of people, they multitask, and there's nothing wrong with that if you're able to do it, but complete what you're doing in front of you at first, and it makes you feel better when you move on to the next thing. So that way you're not getting that anxious feeling.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
I mean, I have this question for you, and still, again, a little bit of a sidebar, but I think procrastination. What is your view on procrastination when it comes to, like, okay, say for example, I watched your show, and you gave some enlightening information, and you're saying, so this is where we need to make stops by, like when I purchased my coins and I'm the type, like, being in the situation that I was in, like, I should have called you long before I did.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And so that put me back just a little further as far as the knowledge I needed to know what I was investing in, the coins that I were buying, what the actual wealth was, how much my weight a gram of gold was, and things like that. So what is your input on the type of things that you teach and people who want to execute those things in their lives, but they procrastinate on it and I guess really take their time moving forward into.
Well, I'm glad you asked that because that allows us to kind of tie this in together. The first thing is, let's talk about why people procrastinate. In this particular in a what hit the fan scenario, you want to be 10 weeks too early than 10 minutes too late.
Yeah.
And essentially what ends up happening with us is because we are not comfortable in doing something different, we slowpoke and hope that things go okay.
Yeah.
And a lot of people right now are procrastinating because they don't want to face the reality that things are going to change. They're going to change drastically, and it's going to force us to do things that we are not used to doing. Like, for example, growing our own food. It is so easy and convenient to go to the grocery store and buy food. We hope that does not end. But the reality is this: to be an ostrich and put your head in the ground and procrastinate and learning and understanding how to grow your own food and ordering seeds can starve your family out. This economic reset that the World Economic Forum has been pushing on us as human beings, as if we are human cattle, is going to rearrange our entire understanding of what money is, what food security looks like, and what health and safety and community and all of these things look like. So we have to prepare these things ahead of time. To procrastinate in this area is to bring about your demise. And I'm going to be honest with you. I don't want to scare anybody.
Yeah.
I want to prepare people.
Yeah.
But if we exercise the same level of procrastination in this and understanding these things moving forward as we do in other things as a group of people, we're going to find ourselves in some very desperate situations to where we may never recover, especially if we have small children.
Yeah.
And so we're going to simplify this. Let's just use food for an example because this is very important.
Okay.
Let's say that there is a flood in Nebraska and they're having challenges with the corn, where they're having challenges with corn in Europe already. Russia is one of the largest corn producers and corn importers around the world. And so let's say we are having challenges with them. People don't understand that at the base of almost everything there is corn, from fuel, from oils that we use to cook with, from the grains that we use to make tortillas, bread. There are a multitude of things that will not be on the shelves from corn not being harvested and sold around the world. And so if we don't have these things, we won't have access to these foods. But to have corn to grow, to be able to have a large field to grow some corn, we know that corn can grow 5 to 6 feet tall, the stalks. But to be able to grow your own corn will put you in a good position. But once you have no access to corn, you just have no access to corn. It's over. It's a done deal. If you don't have any corn, if you don't have any way to grow corn. And now, if we start to understand that there's a corn shortage, what is everybody going to do? They're going to run to go buy corn seeds to buy
which
corn.
Which we've proven.
And the same way we did with toilet paper. At that point, it's too late. So it would behoove us not to procrastinate.
Yeah.
Procrastination in this instance could lead to starvation.
I got you. And the main reason that I asked that question, and I'm just being transparent, I'm the greatest procrastinator you will probably ever meet. But at the same time, the reason I love to be a procrastinator is because I love the adrenaline of the last minute thing. If that makes sense. Like I can't explain it. You know what I'm saying? Like
You
I can
perform
look like
well
I
under
can.
pressure.
I do, but I don't understand why I like to
You
be
put
that
the
way.
pressure on yourself.
I do,
And you don't need to.
And that's it. Like, why would you do that to yourself? And I promise, just
If you
being
had that
transparent.
tenacity in the beginning, you could put yourself ahead because you're already done with the thing that you're trying to do when you need it, as opposed to waiting until, like you said, 10 minutes afterwards.
Yeah, and then I have to change that behavior, and that I do know. And then you know what? I want to bring back to like the growing of our food and everything. And everyone is here is old enough to at least, well, you know. But do you remember like? Did your grandparents, anybody ever like grow corn and like stuff in their back? Second nature. It was not unfamiliar to me to go in my granny's backyard and there's corn or there's tomatoes and there.
Every backyard had a fruit tree in it on
Didn't
the block
it
back in
though?
the day.
And my
Whether it
granny,
was
she had
pears,
a
apples,
grapevine.
plums,
My granny had a
grapes,
grapevine.
cherry trees.
And
the
we would have
corner-
to go pick them. Like if she made wine, and we would have like the vine even went up on top of her garage, and she would always tell us to go to the top and get those because the son made those the ripest.
Right.
You know, because they had the more. But my whole point for mentioning of that is like the growing of our food. How did we even ever lose that? That wasn't something that we did because we do this to survive. It was just second nature. You grew your own food. I mean, your fruits and vegetables, at least, you know,
Absolutely.
and now it's to a point where that's almost oblivious to us. That it doesn't even click that you would walk into your backyard to
It's
get a piece of corn.
It would almost be nasty.
Isn't
right,
that crazy?
to go in there and
I'm not
pick
getting
up
that
fruit
from
off the
outside.
tree,
You don't know them
fresh off the
dogs
tree.
and them animals.
Right.
Same situation it was when our grandparents
We had a
were
pear tree. There's a
coming up.
dead pear tree in my backyard right now.
And that's another thing and that goes to show y'all, this is so very important. I tell people this all the time. Even the soil has been affected. It has, from everything that we have done GMO-ishly, if you will, even from
Chemtrails
our
and-
air. That's it.
Yes.
That's to where the sand, because I used to like grounding. You know how you
Yes.
go out and you're barefoot and you're in the ground. And I promise you, sometimes if I go out and I ground in my backyard, I really mentally think like, am I getting the full purpose of this grounding depending on what's here really?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? What am I really pulling in? What am I really connecting to? What am I? But just the difference in how at one point in time we naturally grew our own food.
Well,
You know
we've
what
been-
I'm saying? And the soil now that or whatever's happening now, like you said, something has happened to the point that they don't even reproduce every year. That's done and gone now.
Well, their plants is dying. That's one of it. That's one of it. The trees is dying. All of the the plants that produce the fruit is dying.
Well, one of the reasons why is that this system that we now live in was created, and this play was put down many years ago. To control a man's food supply and food sources, to control that man, period.
It is.
And while all of these things are happening and changing around us, we have been conditioned to believe that city life is the way to go. But the reality is that people are going to beg to find a place to move to get away from the city soon. That is another component of what we need to prepare for. We need to start researching and looking for land to buy in areas of the country that the things that impact everyday living, i.e. emissions, bad soil, those things are not happening. We need to start moving further away from the cities and gaining control of some land. And this is what the intelligent people are doing. The intelligent people who understand what is happening have begun to buy land in other areas of the United States to where they can grow large, vast amounts of food and be away from the hustle and bustle of everyday city life. When I was younger and we would ride through the countryside, I would say to myself, man, I feel bad for these people in the country. They got to do this, they got to grow this food, and they have to do all these things. But in reality, we have everything backwards. Every single thing that we do almost on an everyday basis are things that we subscribe to are incorrect. They are backwards. We should,
I will agree with
we
that.
should be living, we should be looking to grow our own food. The conveniences of buying food from the store, we also have to accept responsibility for the fact that we are probably putting poisons in our body, preservatives, additives, packaged food, meat that has been shot with steroids, all of these things. If you're going to eat meat, you should be eating your own meat that you raised. See, we now rely on this system to feed us, to care for us, to give us our medicine, to educate our children, to manage our money for us. And these are all the things that we must divorce immediately. And the sooner you do it, the better you will feel. But we need to start to consider moving out of the cities for a number of reasons that we won't get to today. But there will be some things that happen, for example, civil unrest, to where you will not be able to control your environment to the extent that you would like to. And you're going to need to be able to have access to another place. It's just the reality of the world that we live in.
And then, like you said, not to the point of scaring anybody. Hopefully, if you do feel a bit fearful, you're fearful enough to inquire knowledge.
There you go.
You know what I'm saying? You're fearful enough to say, "Oh, well, if that is the case,"
and not naive enough to believe that this is not, it couldn't be reality.
Right.
Exactly. And I always love when you say that, like you said, some of the stuff, like when we always discuss how we go back to Star Trek. And
people think it's too Hollywood.
It's too Hollywood. Like,
nah.
no.
I've seen that something happen in the movies. Like, exactly. They was telling you, they're hinting and subtly suggesting on what they're planning for you.
And that's it. That's it. And then, like you said, we as a people will disregard it. We'll look at it as reality only because Hollywood did it. So that's how that came to pass, because Hollywood put that out here. But if it wasn't for Hollywood, that wouldn't happen.
Right.
I mean, you see what I'm saying? And that's another thing that we have to actually be aware of, is sometimes unfortunately, and I say this about our people all the time, and in some areas I lack in knowledge. So that would be the same for me, just like when I had to call you and, get some enlightenment on my org and how do I file.
Right.
Our community is one of the, well, if not the only one, if you will, eyes wide shut. They put before us in movies, and I mean, they pretty much
TV
tell
shows,
it
cartoons.
to us. They tell it to us, and we'll look at that and totally disregard it. And then when you bring that knowledge to us and you use that as an example, like for example, I don't know, and I did a little research on, the name is not going to come to me now. It's a guy from way back in the day, and he did a lot of predictions, and everything has come to pass so far. Thank you. And the last thing everything that he predicted had come to pass so far. The last thing that he predicted, that if the trail follows and it continues to be true, for example, the Simpsons, the way they are able, I kind of put the Simpsons and Nostradamus, I put those things together, whichever that comes from, the people who create the Simpsons, and they done tapped into that. I mean, they like, we're gonna pick up where Nostradamus left off. The last thing, and I honestly, I promise you, I told my brother when I asked him to watch the show, it's something called the Zombie Apocalypse, and it was on Tubi. And I promise you guys, again, when I was in my slumber, I was in my office, sleeping in a lot of clutter. I had my laptop on, and I was watching Tubi. And the reason that I watch Tubi, I'm the type of person who, I have to fall asleep to the TV or music. I just, pure silence, I can't. My mind will race, so. And I'm sleeping, and it's coming into my sleep, and I hear these people saying, and not if, but when. And they're like, and so this is what you're going to need to do, and this is what you're going to need to do. So I'm tossing, and I'm like, wait a minute. If they're saying what I'm thinking, they're saying, and they're basing it on Nostradamus's predictions. It would be a zombie apocalypse, and I kind of associated that with it. I'm not trying to offend anyone, and you're vaccinated. Okay. I'm not saying anything about that. But when I was watching it, and if they're saying that this is a reality of what's going to happen, really the documentary is for you to prepare yourself because this is what's going to happen. And 9 times out of 10, this is how, this is why, this is da 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 da. I associated with how do you get that many people in a zombie status, like to the point their body has been overtaken. They operate. What's inside of the, I mean, you see what I'm saying? And I associated it with the vaccine. I'm sorry for the multitudes of people that and then boost after boost after boost after boost after boost. What do you,
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, so, you are absolutely correct. Like, even in the movies that they put out, things on YouTube, stuff that we see all the time, there's a lot of metaphors. There's a lot of imagery and a lot of symbolism within those movies that people don't really catch on to if you're not like a big thinker. But even with like The Walking Dead, if you look at that type of thing that, that they try to portray within that series, we're literally living in it right now. People are literally walking dead in their minds because they are not like you said, they don't want to acquire the knowledge, to understand what's going on. And people fear what they don't understand.
That's true.
Ultimately.
Yeah.
And when people don't understand certain things, they're kind of like, oh, I don't want to think about that. Or, I don't want to, no, that don't sound right. You're just being a conspiracy theorist or whatever, like that. But no, literally, we are living in those times. We are living in those times where people are kind of like brushing everything off. They're going just going along with the herd.
Yeah.
They
are. And still wasteful spending.
Yes.
Like that's how you can tell when people aren't taking things as seriously as they should be.
Absolutely.
You can still see the wasteful spending. And
we need to talk about that because we have to address it because we have tax time. We are in the middle of tax season.
Yes.
But in addition to that, we're into everybody from Chrysler just received their profit sharing,
Okay.
and they received a significant amount of money, and I think they need to be educated on some choices that they can make to
With that
enhance
money.
their sustainability for their families.
Yeah.
And so we do need to talk about that.
So what do you feel about that? Let's bring it on in.
Okay, so let's table that for 1 second. We don't, as it relates to people being in a numbed state where they are not engaged on a conscious level and thinking sharply, that is a zombie state. It doesn't necessarily, we really don't care what activates it, right?
Yeah.
It could be over consuming alcohol, over consuming drugs. It could be taking something into the body intravenously. It could be a number of reasons as to what puts so many human beings into a numbed thinking
zombie state.
Right, where they are a danger to themselves and others. But the reality is this: when we face that situation, how are we prepared to deal with it? That is the discussion that we need to have. We have to consider having a bug out area because you can't, let's use I don't really like to talk negative, but you can't kill everybody. But you have to protect your family.
Yeah.
We are going to face some very interesting times in the future because this system has created a matrix to where they are going to herd people into the behaviors that they expect for them to take on.
Yeah.
And when that happens, we're going to have a large percentage of people behaving one way, and we're going to have a large percentage of people behaving another way.
Yeah.
People who are a danger to themselves and others, we're going to have our homes secure, our communities secure.
Yeah.
We're going to have enough food because people are going to even be hungry.
Yeah.
And if they know that you have food, they are going to try to come for it.
That is it.
You're going to have to be able to stand your ground and prepare. And when you have decided that this area, if the inner city is no longer a viable place to live and have your family, you're going to need a backup place to live. And that's why it's important for everybody to find land. And so if we were going to just pivot over to the money conversation, and we can kind of piggyback off one another. Let's put everybody into categories.
Okay.
You have people who live under the poverty line. You have people who live at the poverty line or just above it, and then you have ultra high net worth people, and then you have middle class in between those, right? If you're poor and you come across a few $1,000s, your number one priority is to build a small business where you can invest in yourself. That's your number one priority. Do not talk about Bitcoin. Do not talk about cryptocurrency. You are not in a position to do that. You cannot afford to speculate. That is not that should not be their lane.
So you're saying, just let me clarify for the people who may be. So you're saying, say for instance, you're just above the poverty level and you work for Chrysler and you got the check, the profit sharing check. Are you saying that for those people who had that lump sum of money come in, it is not a good decision for them to even begin to think about investing in that area, like go somewhere else with that?
Well, so poverty, let's define it real quick. Abject poverty is that you don't have any income coming in and you're literally relying on outside sources to feed you every day. Per person, $11,000, about $11,000 puts you under the poverty line, $24,000 a year. If it's 3 people in the house, you're living in poverty.
Yeah.
It's just not enough.
Yeah.
5 people, if you're making $29,000, you're still living at the poverty line.
Just not enough.
It's just not enough money. And so when I think about somebody who works at Chrysler, they're probably making about $50,000 a year. So they would have to have 5 children to put them at poverty. So I don't consider Chrysler that thing. But let's say a person that is living under the poverty line who doesn't have a lot of income coming in. They might make $12, $13, $14, $18,000 a year. It's not enough money to live off of. And they come across a lump sum. One of the first things that they want to do is they want to create another income stream with that money. They have to. That is their number one priority. People can speculate on crypto if they want. They can speculate on stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs. They can speculate in other areas, but that is not, the risk reward does not fit the income stream. It is not worth it.
But it's actually going to produce.
I would prefer for that person to
gambling.
buy. Yep, exactly. I would prefer for that person to buy a beautiful lawnmower. One of the greatest lawnmowers you can buy, 200 or 300 contractor bags, rakes, shovels, and start a lawn care service.
Okay, because that was going to be my next question. What kind of job?
Yep.
I mean,
and on the flip side, you also want to be snow removal. You do your entire block. You want to create an income stream.
Yes, sir.
If a woman doesn't want to do something like that, she makes her basement look real nice, gets it real healthy, and start to put herself in a position to do child care.
Yeah.
Not sanctioned by the state, but informal business that is private for people that she loves, where she is taking care of those things. So that's just 2 examples.
Okay.
Another example could be putting together raised bed gardens, being like a mini carpenter. A mini carpenter putting together raised bed gardens. Something else is buying a set of clippers and cutting the boy's hair on your block. If you're a man. And so you have to invest in yourself with that level of income. Now, when we talk about somebody that's middle class, they make $50,000, $60,000 a year. They get about 11 G's. It's okay to take 5% of that, $500, $550, 5% of that, and speculate in crypto. But if you're going to speculate in crypto, you will want to be looking at a cryptocurrency that is cheap and that serves a purpose. My number one, you always want to look at the market cap, the volume, the price, and then you want to look at the historical trends of that. So something that falls under a category of a buy today for me would be something like XLM. It's called Stellar Lumens. Something else would be maybe Digibyte, because it's at about 2 or 3 cents. It's been as high as 12, 13 cents before. So there is 5x value. There's room to run if crypto recovers. If somebody's going to do something like that, you're looking for something cheap and it serves a purpose. When I say it serves a purpose, cryptocurrencies must be solving a problem. The problem that Bitcoin set out to solve is not the problem that it solves, but it does allow very wealthy people to move money around the world. So it's still solving a problem. And so a lot of cryptocurrency or digital coins don't solve a problem. They're just speculations. For example, Dogecoin. You can speculate on Dogecoin, but it's a gamble.
Because I was a part of that hype when it first came out.
And it's okay. It's okay if that's what you do.
I really thought that it was, and then to look back like, oh no,
Yep.
I mean, it was just the hype of it. And then don't get me wrong, the time to get in, and things like that. But to look at it for where it is from the way I looked at it previously when it was hyped, to look at it now
Yep.
and say, oh, wow.
So is it safe to say that cryptocurrency is a rich or wealthy man's game?
Well, it's not a rich or wealthy man's game. It's an intelligent person's game.
Okay.
And as long as you are intelligent as it relates to investing, in cryptocurrencies or digital assets and blockchain, you can start to come to some conclusions if you follow those things. I'm going to finish up this point and then I'm done. If you're middle class still, you also want to be buying food preps and seeds, because if you're making $50,000, $60,000 a year, you need to take 5% of this $11,000 that you just received from taxes or through your profit sharing, and you need to buy $120, $100, $200 worth of Annie's heirloom seeds so you'll have food covered. And then you need to buy dry goods, 50 pounds of rice, 200 or 300 canned goods, green beans. You want to buy water. You want to have about 50 gallons of water. That's about a gallon of water per person in the house for about a 3-month period. You want to get a 55-gallon metal drum and you want to fill it up with gasoline. You need a generator. These are the real investments now. We are running out of time to be playing the speculation game because the dollar is losing so much of its purchasing power now. And you want to take a lot of your money out of the bank, and you want to, if you're middle class, you want to have some precious metals. You want to have at least 5% of your overall portfolio in precious metals. The term portfolio is changing. It used to be stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, and all these other things. Now a portfolio typically for the average black family is your house, your cash, a little bit of cryptocurrency, your 401k. You want to add dry food and things that you can eat 5 years from now in the case of a Great Depression.
Yeah.
That needs to be a part of your portfolio.
Yeah.
If you're a high net worth or ultra net worth individual, well, I won't say ultra because that's millionaires, but if you're a high net worth individual, I have friends who make $200,000-$300,000 a year. You need to be out of the banking system almost altogether. You need to have no more than 10% of your money in the banking system. You need to be paying your bills with that, and you need to have the majority of your money in hard assets that you own and control and can pass down to your children. The banking system is going to be where our paper dollars go to die. Our digital dollars go to die. Now, is there still some time left to buy insurance? Yes, it is. Is there still time left to make some investments here and there? It may be, but what you don't want to get is you don't want to get caught in that burning house. And so if you are a high net worth person, you want to pay off your car. You want to try to pay off your house. You want to own everything cash because they can manipulate the interest rates.
That's true.
When they get to a point where they're trying to not die themselves. When the bank doesn't want to die.
Yeah, and as we've seen,
and if you have an adjustable rate mortgage, you could be in trouble.
They're going to be their own preserver.
Yeah, they're going
Have their own best interest.
That's it. They're definitely, and then 9 times out of 10, as we have always seen too, their best interest for themselves is always going to ride on the cost of our backs.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I wanted to shift over to Queen D real quick because
Okay.
I wanted her to, give her perspective on some things that we need to do financially.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, just even piggybacking off of, spending and things of that sort. A lot of things that we don't talk about in the community is budgeting, budgeting. So with budgeting, people, you got to look at it in a way where if, when you look at wealth and how much someone might potentially have as far as their income and expenses, you might have someone that makes $300,000 a year, but $280,000 of their dollars of money that they're making per year is going towards their expenses.
Facts.
So that means that person only has $20,000 actually in net profit of income. You may have somebody that's making $50,000 a year, but their expenses for the year may be only $10,000. That person's $40,000 ahead.
That's very important.
Of that person that is making, $300,000 and has only $20,000 left to spend.
Okay, and
so
that's the living at your means.
Yes, that's the living of your means.
Yeah.
This is after all your bills, your expenses, and us as a community, like even around this time, tax time, when the GM or Chrysler workers, they're getting that lump sum of money, the first thing people, or we as a people, want to do, we want to go out and spend money. We want to go out and buy cars, we want to buy clothes, we want to buy jewelry, just to impress people or show that you got money. That's not showing that you have money. Because like Emmett said, you have to invest in things that are going to appreciate. There's a difference between depreciation and appreciate. All of these things that you're spending money on, clothes, it's going to depreciate. That stuff is not going to be worth nothing in a month or next week, rather. Once you drive that car off the parking lot, you can't get half of it back no more. You know what I'm saying? For what you spent for it. So we have to be careful as a community how we're spending our money. And we want to invest in things that are going to appreciate in value, not depreciate. As far as buying
things that can make you money.
Things that can make you money.
And in our hood term, the way that they can let's break it down to where they understand the stuff you can flip.
The stuff you can flip and make
it
money
comes back to you. Exactly.
Exactly. And that's why the other cultures are so successful.
That's it.
They're so successful because we're consumers. Exactly.
We base wealth on how much we can spend,
yes,
not how much
versus
we can
how
make.
much we can bring in and save. And
exactly.
I don't understand what we don't understand about the fact that if we really look at it as a people and how we spend, what do we bring back in from what we spend out? That is that is the basic breakdown of whether or not you are spending successfully or you are just spending to really to give back to someone else. And when I say someone else, of course, I'm meaning outside of our communities, or what do you say, Mark? We don't, our colonies.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because we don't have communities, you know, our colonies.
Last year during the pandemic, when everybody was getting all this money, Black people spent a total of $13 trillion in the economy. We kept the economy, all that money that they gave to us, we put it right back in.
That's it.
We put it
they knew that we would.
No, and I said that, and that's when they say ain't no more stimulus checks. Ain't no and then again, of course, I'm not speaking in favor of it, but in the reality of how our people spend when it comes to the economy, cut them some stimulus checks.
Yeah,
they gonna give it right back.
They gonna give it right
That's
back.
how they were stimulating the economy by giving us the damn money.
That's it.
Yep.
Right, exactly. and we'll stimulate it
absolutely
by giving it right back.
Right, exactly. And then you have all of these businesses like we should be trying to revert back to how Black Wall Street was. We should have our own grocery stores. Yeah. We should have our own gas stations. We should have our own schools, hospitals, things of that sort. People's focus is so off.
It is.
It's so off.
And I even encourage bartering. Right?
Yeah.
Amongst people who have products and services amongst us that we can utilize, you know what I mean?
Amongst
about
each
the
other.
podcast,
Right.
I tell them all the time, like, we can exchange what we do for people who have something that we can benefit from.
Exactly.
That we would normally spend money for.
And,
you know what I'm saying?
and a lot of the
that's
other,
what we do.
And a lot of the other cultures, they do that. People that own gas stations and things of that sort in our communities, they work off the bartering system within their communities and within their organizations. That's how they build. But they come in to our communities, into our neighborhoods. They make all of this money. They don't put any money back into the community. They take all of that money and they send it back overseas to their family or wherever they're at. They put it back into their family and their community. Yeah. They don't do anything for us in the neighborhood or anything like that. And us as a people, that should spark something in us. You're going in these stores every day. They're being disrespectful to you. They're constantly following you around the stores.
We gotta have this conversation.
Yeah, I mean, they're following you around the stores. And you're the ones who you're paying their mortgage. Yeah, you're paying that Cadillac Escalade that's parked outside the gas station. You paying for them to ride off at that at the end of the day.
And you're the reason that when you now look at that store, there's a store. There was an issue again. The store is on Puritan before you get to Greenfield, and the owner hit a lady and bust her nose or something. Her nose was bleeding or something like that.
That was terrible.
Now, I used to own a home in that area on 6 Mile and Puritan. And I would frequent that store, and when I was going to that store, it was just like a white It had white paint on it. You know, the beer liquor sign on the side of it. Have you
Right.
seen that store now?
I haven't seen it.
Oh, they done refaced it. I mean, it's beautiful. The brick design that pretty
did,
much all the stores are beautiful. And when I drove past that store, I said, "Look at what we did." And this is the same store where this man put his hands on
But
a
you know what's
black
crazy?
woman.
I did coverage of that story over there, and you know, to get deeper into the situation, right? There were people, right, in that community that looked like us,
Yeah.
that were rallying
Defending
for that
for
store,
him.
that was
Yes, they were.
defending him,
Yeah.
right? And then you know, when the people came together to try to buy that store out, he basically had all kinds of terms and conditions and red line, and as
Of
far as,
course,
you know,
of course.
why he couldn't sell the building. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
Well, what we have to remember is, and this is something very important, but I want to tell a quick story. There was a dude that in my neighborhood where I grew up at, and some Arabs owned the store, and he stole some wine or something, and they shot him. And our community subsequently bombed the store, and then they sold the store to a black man named Jake, and he owned that store until it closed. When we I'm not condoning violence, but what I do condone is not allowing people to come into your community and hurt your people who don't contribute to your community. What we don't understand as consumers, that your money is a proxy for your labor. When you invest 40 hours of your life into something, and then you take the energy that is stored into that money and you spend it with your political and cultural enemies, you are killing yourself. You are essentially buying your own demise.
Yes, you are.
And-
yes, you are.
And so we
said that
finance
so
our
many
own
times.
terror.
Yeah.
And we have to understand that these people are political and cultural enemies. Why? Because they have no interest in our communities or rebuilding our communities. They look at us simply as consumers.
That's
and
it.
they have
Liquid.
Yep. And they have And they
Absolutely.
have and they have no interest in anything that is important for our livelihood and for us to build our communities
Yeah.
up. And so my daughter always would say to me, "Well, we can afford this," and I say, "But I would never spend my money with that person."
Exactly.
We have to understand
Yeah.
that when you earn money,
Yeah.
you have invested your life. There's the most valuable thing that we own is our time.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
spend our time
Making
making
the
the
money.
money. So that makes the money the proxy for our labor. That energy that is stored, someone would need to earn that.
Yeah, exactly.
Through fair treatment, respect, honor, and appreciation. And if they don't have those things, then we should not be doing business with them.
Yeah.
We should make certain that we are giving our money to people who do that for us.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily mean that the person has to be black every single time.
Yeah.
But they do have to respect our communities
it.
and respect
That's
our
it.
dollars
Yeah,
and want to do something to help the community in which they are in,
That part.
building these businesses
Yes.
for themselves that
Yeah.
feeds their families.
Yeah. And then you know what? I do this purposely, and I actually had this happen to me twice yesterday. And this is what one of the owners said to me in the store. Okay, so I'm leaving the hairdresser, and I go to a gas station. No, I'm a liar. Headed to the gas station, I needed to buy a charger for my phone. So I'm leaving my house and I stop at the store by the house. And so the guy says the charger is $5, and I give him my card and I said, I'm sorry. I paid for it because I meant to get a pack of gum too. So I said, I'm sorry. I had paid for it. I said, oh, I'm so sorry. I meant to add you to add on a pack of gum. Now, mind you, his energy, when I first came up to the window, I guess from the person he had helped before.
Okay.
You can tell they have this certain energy. They have
Yeah.
a certain... So when I come up to the window, before I open my mouth, and I notice that with a lot of them, it's not until I begin to speak that their demeanor changes. So when I come up to my hair, I was headed to the hairdresser, mind you, so it's brushed down, and I got my glasses on, jogging pants, t-shirt, what have you. And so I come in and he said, what do you need? That's what he did. I said, I'm sorry. He was like, I'm sorry. How can I help? I said, yeah, I need the new Android charger, the wider one, So he gives it to me. I pay for it.
Right.
And so I said, oh, I'm sorry. I meant to ask you, for a pack of gum. And you know how they'll say, if you don't spend over a certain amount on your card, they charge you. Oh, don't get me wrong. I break them down every time. They never charge me that ever because I know the law. So he said, I said, it's 35 cents, but I only have my card. I'm sorry, I don't have it. She was like, oh, no, take the gum. I said, oh, thank you. Okay, so I take the gum. I go on my way.
Okay.
Now I'm leaving the hairdresser, and I had to stop at the ATM to get some money out of the ATM. And so I'm in there and I'm pulling off. I jump in my truck. I said, damn, I need a lighter. So I go back in. I said, I'm sorry. Do you have a lighter? And now I mind you, this guy too. Now this gas station is right across from Martin Luther King High School. I was on Jefferson and Mount Elliott.
Okay.
And it's a gas station that sits right there on that corner. And so I come back in. I said, I'm sorry. I need a lighter. Can I, have a lighter? So he gives me the lighter for free. He was like, oh, you take the lighter. You take the lighter. I said, oh, wow. I said, well, this is the second time today that I've come into one of you guys' establishment. I'm sorry, that's how they do us.
Yeah.
I've come into one of you, and you guys have given me something for free. He said, oh, that's because they like you in our community. If you wasn't black, you'd be a wife. I swear he did. I didn't know whether to take that as an insult.
That's their way of flirting with you when they know that they
he
can't
said,
pop that
oh,
sexual
second
shit
time. I said, yeah. I said, well, this is the second time today one of you guys have given me something for free. I'm just kidding. He was like, oh, that's in our community. If you wasn't a black woman, you'd be the wife. I said, oh.
Wow.
Is that an insult or is it?
The passive aggressive insult.
Right.
How do I take that? And don't get me wrong, because I don't date outside my culture.
Yeah.
I mean my race. I just don't. I just don't have an
Well,
interest.
Where their
So
perception,
what was that like?
yeah, their perception of wealth is different. Like they have, for us it's money and things, but for them it's, having multiple wives, and mates and things of that sort. So, like I've had that happen to me before when I go in there, it's like they almost have the superior complex in a way, so to speak. And they feel like they, can own, if, they can own someone or own a woman, so to speak. So, but yeah,
I honestly didn't know how to take that. And then I make it my business that if I do have to, give them my money. Oh, it's just such a cringe. I don't understand. Yeah. For me, it really is a cringe to give them my money.
It is. And that's why we have to create, we have to start our own businesses. We have to start taking back these stores that are in our community and building, a lot of this term has been kind of going around for the past decade, but generational wealth, that's another concept that, we've all kind of looked into. We've seen it, heard about it everywhere, but that's very important that you create some type of generational wealth with the money that you're earning right now. Yeah. Because you have to think about for the future, you have to think about for the future, not just for today or tomorrow. You have to think about for the future. And if you have a family, if you have children, you definitely want your children to be in a better position than you were.
Of course.
Of course, everyone wants that. So to do that, you have to put yourself and your family in that position. And that's by, providing that generational wealth.
Yeah.
So,
and then we said starting the show, and Emmett, I wanted you to clarify on this because, again, like I said, I've had several people tell me you're real opinionated on some things, but we're your solutions for what you're opinionated on, and Emmett, when you were speaking, you were giving us a lot of areas and where we can start, like you said, for the Chrysler workers and with their profit sharing checks, investing in seeds and the 5 gallons of gas and, the water. And so for us to be having the discussion financially and, where we're headed and what it is that we should be doing, what are some of the things that we can do? So you'll pretty much be continuing from where you left off in that aspect. Like, what are some of the things that we can do as a people who may not have a lot of money, and they're at the property level, but I do want to do something towards becoming but at the same time they do depend on the government.
Okay, for sure. So one of the first things they would have to do is learn a term called dollar cost averaging. And essentially what that is you're buying a little bit with what you have consistently. That goes back to being organized because let's use silver, for example. Okay. Buying silver with paper dollars is essentially acquiring wealth. It may be movable wealth, but it is wealth because you can store the energy in it. Why? Because 10 years from now, it's still going to have value. We don't know what the dollar is going to be doing 10 years from now. And so an ounce of silver is about $30 with the premium. that is, we can afford that. The poorest person can afford that. We buy Chinese food, we buy pizzas, we buy alcohol, we buy cigarettes, we buy weed, we buy all the things that we like to get it in with. We like to party. We like to do our thing. We have to buy gas. And so we have to find the discipline to buy as much as we can afford. And silver is a great investment for poor people because it's going to increase exponentially in value over the years. And so if a person wants to invest in something that they believe to be safe, that they can afford, they can buy some ounces of silver. They can buy 1 ounce a month.
Okay.
And so if you can't spend $30 a month, then you're probably really not, you don't have it, you can't move. You're in a straitjacket.
Okay.
And so you would just be bold. Some other things that you can do, you can buy your preps in small quantities. Buy a few bags of rice here and there. A bag of rice is $2. But see, rice lasts for a very long time. Buy 5 or 10 canned goods because essentially what we're doing, this food is not going to sustain us forever.
Right.
It's going to put us in a position where we are not desperate and we can think our way through rebuilding.
Again, that clutter.
Exactly.
It's clear.
We have to be able to think our way through. So the one thing that you can't be and be productive is hungry. You can't be on the verge of starvation and do anything.
And think clearly.
And so we need to be able to think clearly. And what is our next move? Are we going to bug out? Are we going to move? What are we going to do? Little kids across the street haven't eaten in weeks. Can we help them? We have to be in a position of power over our circumstances. And now is that time. Some other things that a person that doesn't have much, some other things that they can do is that they can find out where can they cut costs. What can you live without? That is the next question you have to ask yourself. What can you live without? So if your Sprint bill is $88 a month, maybe we're breaking that down to Metro PCS for the $35 plan. But you have to start finding the extra money. The intelligent person cuts their bills down.
That's what I just went
to create more discretionary spending to invest.
What else can I find for a source that I need, but at a cheaper rate?
And then,
you know what I'm saying?
And then the final and most important thing, well, it's not the final thing, but one of the most important things is eliminate one of your vices. Typically, poor people have a vice.
That's true.
That's typically why they're poor.
That is true.
And that doesn't mean all poor people have a vice, but typically,
the majority,
if they're living below, it's a high probability they have a vice. And that's going to do two things. It's going to create the self-control and discipline in your life to be a clearer thinker and be better. And it's going to create some more access to capital. And so both of those things are equally important. And so those are some things that you can do if you're below the poverty line.
I got you. And that makes a lot of sense. And then one of the things that I pulled out from that I believe everybody can do, and like you said, just start it in quantities at a small, until you can get to
seeds are $2 a pack.
How about that? And then like you said, for the rice and things like that, and then you can even get to the point that even at the poverty level, especially following the steps that you just gave, you yourself could actually become a small business owner. Invest in those seeds, the fruits, the vegetables, and things like that, and then make a page saying that this is what people can come and buy these things from you, because again, it's the demand of it. Of course, it's going to be a great demand of it, because what you usually buy at the supermarkets and things like that will no longer be.
Let me reemphasize this real quick. You can have no money and be a single mother and just have to clean up your apartment to where it is clean and sanitary, and then generate business cards electronically on your cell phone, send them out to everybody in your neighborhood that you know and say, I'm now watching your children for $20 an hour.
That's it.
You can start a business with no money.
That's it. Yes, you can.
You can start a business with no money.
And
that's a viable business.
That's it.
It's going to pay.
And then, damn it, I was going to say, it's going to be what people need. You know what I'm saying? And I have a term that I use it for my children. If I'm yelling at them and they're doing something they shouldn't be doing, or thinking of a game plan that we have and getting it together, it's too easy to be hard. You make that hard. It's too easy to be hard. You know what I'm saying? You make it hard. for us as a people, and we're going to get ready to wrap this thing up, I think one of the biggest things that we have to overcome as a people for us to be able to work together, to even begin to become interested in what all of us, like my org, New Era, generational wealth builders, what we have to do as a people to even begin to one foot forward is to take away the benefit of the doubt that we of a people can't do it.
Yep.
Right, exactly.
That's it. That's what keeps us at bay.
Yeah.
You know, I can, like you said, the simplest thing about that was she ain't had no money.
Right.
Cleaned
What
up
it
her
is
apartment.
We have to give ourselves the benefit of the doubt and stop giving ourselves the consequence of the doubt, because that's what it is. You know what I mean, we think about we think about what we're gonna do, how we're gonna fail, or what we can't do before we
even
visualize
start.
what we can. Yeah.
What we can
We're
do. Yeah,
halfway
that's
defeated
it.
before
That's
we
it.
begin
That's
to-
it. That's
so,
it.
You know what I mean? That's we have to stop giving ourselves the consequence of the doubt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And give ourselves the benefit of the doubt. Like, yeah, we can do this.
Yeah.
If we do
Yeah.
it like this, it's like the cup half empty, half full theory. You know what I mean?
It is.
Like,
Yeah, it is.
We gotta
Definitely.
Yeah.
think about on the other side of the coin. You know what
That
I mean?
is
Right.
it.
But we've been conditioned to think otherwise. So,
Exactly. And you cannot fail unless you start. You have to start
nothing
somewhere.
fails but a try, right?
Exactly, right. And just to kind of piggyback off of what he was saying, another key important thing is savings. A lot of people, especially in our culture, we do not save. When something happens, we get a flat tire, we run out of money for a bill, we calling people, we like, we need some help.
Yeah.
We need to get to the point, and that was going back to the financial independence. What you can do is sit down, get a sheet of paper, write out all your monthly expenses. All your monthly expenses you have for the month, times that by 3. I would say even 6, especially in these times. Yep, do that. And then that's how much you should have saved up.
That's great advice.
It does.
That's how much you should have saved up. And don't touch that money. Act like it's not even there.
Exactly.
Act like it's like a bill you paid and it's gone.
It's gone.
Keep
It's
and,
gone.
and we need to get into doing that too as well.
I
So
love it. Thank
yeah.
you, lady, for that. We are
Yes.
going to end it on that note. Thank you. Too
welcome.
easy to be hard. You know,
Yes.
Emmett, thank you, big bro.
Absolutely.
Thank you every
Absolutely.
time. Queen D, I will be welcoming you back. Thank you so very
Thank
much.
you.
And
Yes.
to my executive producer, Mark,
Appreciate
in
it.
the
Always a
building.
pleasure
It's
having you and your
thank
guests,
you
man.
so
Listen.
I appreciate it.
Emmett, you already know, sister Queen. You already,
I appreciate it.
Y'all
Thank
family,
you.
man.
Thank
Y'all know
you.
where the door
I'm
at. so.
trying to
All
tell you.
right.
And then okay, so I guess I do have to make my decision about the 2 hour. It is what it is. Even on my head about
gonna-
the 2
you gonna-
hour.
yeah, she
I'm
gotta
going to do
start
it.
earlier
I'm going
and
to do
do
it.
the 2
I'm going to
hours.
do it. I'm going to do the 2 hour. I see that we need it. I want to thank everyone who tuned in today. Hopefully we gave you guys a lot of insight on what you guys can do, even with the smallest amount of money, so that we can begin to move as a community in the way that we need to prepare for the times that are coming. Again, I want to thank both of you guys for tuning in with me. Mark, thank you again. And I want to thank everyone for tuning in to the Making Them Think podcast, where we get the hood thinking. Thank you, guys.
Warning.
You are now tuned in to 7 Mile Radio. 7 Mile